Google Play Button Smash.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Button Smash, a podcast about video games, by video games, and for video games. That doesn't sound right.
Jeff, this is Jeff Video Games reporting live.
The games are going to consume us.
Oh, no. Or, oh, yes.
Yes.
Tonight, we're going to be talking about the latest news and events that have happened through this week. We'll be talking about what has been happening in the biggest, I'm going to say, street fight in video game history. And I'm not talking about Sony versus Microsoft. I'm talking about Epic Games versus Apple.
Yeah.
We got a lot of DLC announced. We got some Diablo 4 news that we're going to jump right into. And if there is time, we're going to catch up and see what the smashed potatoes have been playing this week. But first, let's see who's joining us. We have Doc Chris.
Hi, I'm well pureed potatoes, personally. Nice mixed up, no chunks.
Nice. TV's Casey.
Smashed potatoes with bacon and cheese.
Ooh.
Loaded.
Jay's Mac.
I'm more of a fermented potato, like vodka.
I thought you were going to say a Nina potato. I thought you were going to go. The Bad Cody Sergio.
Welcome, everybody, to the only video game podcast that brings you some sriracha chicken salad to this little picnic, and not that weird video game podcast that brings a potato salad with raisins in it. Who are you? That's not real potato salad. Why is there raisins in it? You weird video game podcast. It's not us. It's weird. Stop it.
And I'm your host for the evening, Booster Greg. Now we've gotten all that business out of the way.
Yeah.
Doc Chris, tell me about this Epic versus Apple versus Android, or Apple and Android. Tell me all about it.
Well, at this point, it's basically like Epic versus everyone, right? So we talked a little bit about it last week, just to catch us all up. Epic decided that they wanted to put an in-app purchase, or actually an in-game purchase system where you could buy the in-game currency, but inside of the game, as opposed to going through the normal Google Play purchase, or in Apple's case, the App Store. This has always been a controversy thing. Apple was up against Spotify about this kind of thing, where every purchase that comes through the App Store through Apple, Apple takes 30 cents out of every dollar, right? So that's part of their policy when they authorize developers to use their tool and to allow these apps on the App Store. So Epic decided with Fortnite, they were going to circumvent that whole thing, and they were going to put this purchasing system inside the game. That way they didn't have to pay Apple every time there was a purchase. So, needless to say, they were very clearly ready for this fight because they sued Apple because Apple took Fortnite off the App Store. And then, following suit, Google Play did the same thing, because these purchases are actually against the terms and conditions of having your app up in these places, specifically the rigid guidelines about purchasing. So, court battle ensues. Epic launches a whole big online campaign. They put videos up making fun of Apple, the 1984 video. Well, not only did Apple pull their app from the store, but they took it a step further, and they actually are denying those using the Unreal Engine. Developers that use the Unreal Engine, they're not going to have access to the developer tools that Apple lets their authorized developers use.
Damn.
So, Unreal Engine is a very popular development platform. Very popular engine. It works with everything. Every console, every platform has games that use this, and so many games use it. So this is this is someone pulling out the gun in a knife fight.
Yeah.
What do you guys think of this scenario? All right, who's in the right? Who do you think is wrong? Who do you think is right? How detrimental is this?
I think Epic is right in doing this. It's funny. It's clever. Placing that button and saying all right, screw you guys. We're going to get our money anyway. We're going to circumvent this. It's petty of Apple, in my opinion, because, they're damaging the customers who are ultimately buying this. And I know like they're not getting a cut out of it. It's a business model. They have so much money. And granted, Epic also has so much money that, okay, you can't share, but it's Epic's IP, you know? I don't know. I think I side with the underdog, which it's weird to say that Epic's is underdog.
Yeah.
But I do feel that way because Apple's like, well, we really don't care about our customers, if that's what they're saying, you know? They're like, oh, thanks for buying this technology that can run this game. We're not going to supply the game to you anymore, though, and we're going to make it unavailable for anybody that has used it or purchased it. Even though you bought things through us before, we made money off of you because of this. We just don't care. We're going to do this because it's a petty battle between, you know, two huge companies, and we're the bigger one, so we can do it. And it just kind of shows like the dark underside of the company who, you know, kind of promotes themselves as being like, you know, perfect in every way and doing things. It's a bummer to see.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's two different ways to kind of look at it, right? So you have the point that Jason just kind of illustrated for us, which is, yeah, Epic shouldn't have to pay you 30 cents on the dollar for doing nothing. Like I would imagine that the majority of the money that Epic makes from Fortnite does not come from iOS sales. I feel like that's just not a thing. I'm not saying it's not a small chunk of change. I'm saying that I feel like the majority of it is coming from PC players or console players specifically.
Right.
So I feel like, yeah, like I ultimately agree with Epic, and I'm going to side with Epic, but I can also see Apple's side of it, where it's like, you know, there are avenues in which that you could probably go through and be like, hey, I don't want to pay you 30 cents on the dollar anymore. And Epic's so big, they probably would have been like, well, let's negotiate something, right? Instead of just like pulling something like this. This is a huge publicity stunt.
Oh,
for
massive.
Epic.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Big time.
Yeah. So that's kind of like, it kind of tints it. They're like, hey, we're for the people, by the people, of the people. It's like, but are you?
Wait,
Or
really?
is this just get more bucks in your pocket right now and hoping that those bucks kind of like outweigh the loss that you're making from your mobile sales?
I don't think so. I don't think Epic went about this the right way. I think that they are right.
I agree.
I don't think they went the right way. The correct way would have been to take them to court, but don't just slide that payment into the game, because you signed you signed a contract. There are certain rules that you need to follow to have your game up there.
We had a deal.
You know that those Apple probably has it in terms and conditions like ironclad that this is the rule of having it up there, and lots of little guys have tried to have this fight before. This is certainly not the first time Apple's pulled stuff from the store because of very similar things, but there was very, very clearly a publicity stunt on their front. And one of the tough things about this is that one of the reasons that Fortnite is so popular is how accessible it is, and that it is on every platform. So this really is hurting the people that just want to play the game on the thing that they have. I have this, I can play Fortnite on it, I want to do it. And honestly, if you already have the game downloaded, it's not going anywhere. Part of the terms and conditions, Apple can't just remove, and same thing Google Play, they can't just remove the app from your device. Obviously, they don't have to release the updates through there, so there may come a point where the phone can no longer support that in software updates. When the phone updates and then the app just can't keep up for whatever reason, that might happen, but the app will be on the phone.
Yeah.
So, in the end, the way they went about this, probably not the smartest way. They wanted to get the attention, but they might have bit off a little more they can chew on this front, because if it's in the contract, and they are following those terms and conditions, that's the ball game there, right or wrong, they're agreeing to it. So they put something in their app that wouldn't do that.
I love how Apple was like, we're not going to change our mind on this. We don't make exceptions for any of this. And if anyone's ever been to an Apple store and you get angry, all you have to do is ask for a manager, and they make all the exceptions in the world. So
that's for damn sure.
Just talk to the manager of, I don't know, it's not iTunes anymore, of the App Store.
60% of this podcast can verify.
We won't tell you which 60 though.
Yeah.
And Apple has issued a statement saying that if they submit a version of the app that has that piece removed, they will allow it back on the store. So there obviously isn't out, but then the publicity goes away and the big fight continues. The strange thing is the only person that has won a fight like this is actually Taylor Swift, which is kind of weird. She convinced them to change the pay structure with Apple Music. Again, this was kind of the Apple Music versus Spotify and Spotify deal. And Spotify also released a statement that instead of, they actually were asking their clients to, instead of paying through the App Store, if they would pay using directly to Spotify, not using the mobile version, basically saying, hey, that money would go to Apple and go directly to us. You should do it this way. But those, I forget whether or not, actually, definitely should have researched this first, whether or not that in-app purchase is still available, but they certainly encourage their users to not go that route because of that about 30% cut that Apple takes.
So I have two thoughts about this. Is like, in addition to Chris, I agree with you that like Epic probably shouldn't have gone this route. I'm sure glad that they did, because it's funny. That's plain and simple. My other point, though, my other thought about this is that when this is all said and done, Apple is going to turn this into a commercial. And I know that everybody that is listening or watching this knows that too. They're going to turn it into we care about the people who use our devices. These people are our lifeblood. They're, and you guys know what this
and it's going to be like close-ups of all different types of people, like kind of like serious, that eventually goes into a smile, and it like pans around, and it's like you get like the imperfections of the person, but they're beautiful just the way they are. And that's why we charge 30% of every dollar.
You know what's going to happen?
Can have
Get me my casting agent. I need every kid that's ever been featured on a cover of a college newsletter.
And that's why we machined all these families from a single piece of silicon. And it's like the Apple logo at the end, ding. Like that's Oh man, that's great marketing.
Yeah, and I mean, we're talking about a company that literally just hit they doubled their value in the last 2 years,
Insane.
which is nuts. And you know where the majority of that probably came from is the money
Fortnite.
they get via services. Yeah, well, it's three kids just went nuts with their parents' credit card.
Yep.
Yep, and that's so it's gonna be an interesting story to follow. I don't know. Again, I don't know how many legs that Epic has to stand on. They certainly have the moral high ground, but they don't really have the legal high ground the way that they went about it.
Yeah, for sure.
Bananas.
All right. Okay, so with that, we are going to take a quick little commercial break, which I know is new for the show, but we're going to do it. And remember, if you are watching live on Thursday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time over at twitch.tv/WeAreRogueMatter, you are subscribed to the channel, you get no commercial breaks during this at this point. So we'll be right back after that.
With a cape. No, anything. Cape is always crazy. Cape is always crazy. Look, there are clowns walking the streets right now.
Right now.
There is no one dressed in a cape. Rogue Wave Podcast, the frequency for all things pop culture and the disruptors behind it. Streaming every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern on Facebook.com/Rogue Wave Podcast, and available immediately following the live stream wherever major podcasts can be found.
All right. So we have a whole bunch of gaming news that we need to talk about. So let's just start up with Ghost of Tsushima is getting some DLC with a co-op mode.
It's legendary. By God.
Someone tell me about
I
this.
got that game. I need to play more first.
Oh my
in
God.
order to do this co-op stuff. I gotta stop playing Rust.
So
Dude,
I can't possibly wait for this. So this seems like it's going to kind of be like a Destiny raid or strike, which is interesting. You're playing. It's 4-player. There's a 2-player and 4-player co-op. The 4-player one sounds like it's going to be like a raid, and you're playing the Fable Legends. So as you're playing Ghost of Tsushima, you have side quests in which you can get new abilities. Those new abilities are told to you through tales of the Japanese folklore. These legendary warriors of old, like Tadayori, who was like the famed archer. Who because there's a hunter, a samurai, and 2 others.
Hunter, a samurai, a hunter, and a samurai.
Yeah, I totally have it pulled up in front of me.
And Hunter Samurai.
Exactly. Yeah. So you have all these you have these 4 characters you can play as, and it sounds like you're playing through all these different scenarios. There's not much detail going on, but it is going to be a free download. And I'm just like, wow, these game companies are just winning, absolutely winning over their fan bases. So we got a sneak preview trailer they're watching right now live, or you can watch it wherever you are on YouTube. Blah blah blah. So we're watching the video right now. You can watch it wherever you are, and there you got the combat that's going on for each of the legendary warriors. They have their own different styles, so your friends want to fight over who is who. You also have these interesting scenarios where you're running and swinging through. They don't tell us what the combat scenarios are yet. That's coming soon, but I love that they're including this co-op, because Ghost of Tsushima is a single player game. But Sucker Punch was just like, what if you can play with your friends? How can we make this game last a bit longer? Okay, people like playing with their friends. Okay, how can we do that? The legendary heroes, those side stories where you go and get all these different powerful moves. You can play as those warriors. Let's do that. Let's drop you into scenarios. All right, let's have that going on. And it looks, I can't wait for this. It looks crazy.
I'm so excited.
Some of the scenarios here look like it's steeped in Japanese folklore. Like some of it looks kind of supernatural.
Yeah.
Right? Like you're walking through these like trails of blood.
It looks kind of like the Secret World. Remember that?
Yeah.
It has those vibes of that for me.
Yeah.
So
I can't wait for this.
So Ghost of Tsushima has so much freaking content. I literally hit a point when I went, I don't know if I can continue to play this because it's so much game. And I was starting to get overwhelmed. And I was like, man, maybe I'll move on to something else. And then they made this announcement trailer. And I went, now I have to beat this story because there is going to be more to come out to this game. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe there is both a multiplayer campaign aspect of it that is different from, it is going to be separate from the main campaign that you played for the main story, as well as, like Sarge said, there is going to be that raid, like those raids that are going to be more difficult challenges that you would do, with 4-player. But I'm pretty stoked. I now have much more motivation. Now I'm just beelining, trying to get through as much of the stuff as I can. But then little icons show up on the screen. I'm like, I got to figure out what that is. I got to go over there. And that's 3:00 in the morning. And I've been telling myself I'm going to bed in 10 minutes for about 2 hours now.
I know, especially one of the 4-player modes is a horde mode. So fighting through
so cool.
waves,
I'm there.
Yeah. Well, fighting through waves of enemies with your friends. Let's see, the co-op missions, the 2-player are survival-based missions. There's a whole bunch of different things they're doing. So it's not just like, oh, here's a 2-player mode, 4-player mode, and here's one thing. They have several different situations that they're going to throw you into. So I'm down to see what they're going to give us. And I love how it's the legendary warrior. It makes so much sense because it's okay, we're not going to play as Jin Sakai, the main character. Let's play as the legendary warriors, and I can't wait for that because I'm sure everyone has a favorite one. You got what's his name, Goku? Not Goku, the mustache one.
I don't know any of their names.
Master Roshi.
Master Roshi.
Nigel Thornberry. Is that?
Yes. But so you pick your character type and you get into it. So I love that they're thinking of going even further with this game and giving you more and more and more. And even right now, they keep putting out updates for this game that fix different things that players are having trouble with. There's a drifting joystick error in the game that a lot of people were experiencing. So if your character was standing still, kind of drift off to the side, or if you were trying to aim somewhere, kind of move a little bit because there's some dead drift in the joysticks. They released an option in the menu for that to be corrected. They're releasing some other bug fixes too, and they keep trying to support and keep this game going, which I think is awesome. There's no news of a new game plus or any of that stuff yet, although the devs do say that they are listening and they are aware that people want certain things, but they are hoping that we'll continue playing the game and have that more stuff down the pipeline. Because if they do put a new game plus, I will definitely play it because I love just running through this game. It's gorgeous. I love the combat. It's a lot of fun. And I think it's just one of those games where it's just if you don't know what you want to play, but you want to get lost into a world, right? We all play games. Reality sucks, right? And games are fun. So you want to get lost in a beautiful world where you are this samurai. And you go through this island of Japan, and you have this wonderful melee combat with all these different stances, taking on different enemies, taking down camps, liberating your people. It's a lot of fun to play. I've had a lot of people be like, "Oh, is this game worth picking up?" I would say yes.
Yeah.
I mean, anyone that tells me, "Oh, I've been seeing that Ghost. Is that any good?" I'm like, "Yes.
Yes.
It's actually pretty good."
It's worth your money.
Yeah, and I don't know about you guys, but I have a lot more fun in the side missions than the main mission.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
I beat the way I've been going for each chapter is beating everything possible before I get to the main story mission.
Is that not the
Same.
case with every open world game, though?
But not every open world game like goes to shit. Like it really, really benefits. Okay, so some games you have side quests. Well, yeah, this will benefit you a little bit. You gain some XP. You might get an item or two. But here, the items and abilities you get really help you out. Like the legendary warriors that you get to play as here in the main game, you get to go and go out in a certain part of the world and find out where they last were, where their weapons that were left behind, like the bow of Tadayuri. Like I remember that one because I love using the bow. I love using the bow in this game. It's so good. And when you get that longbow, which is what you get at the end of that, like it's so sick. And there's even like waves of enemies that come through, and you have to like kill them all with the bow for you to kind of get used to it. But yeah, the side missions are like that, where they actually give you useful stuff. And a lot of games, like I said, like have side missions, but you don't always necessarily need to do them. Like Mass Effect. Okay, you do the side missions.
I don't think that's a great example though, because Mass Effect, the side missions can get you different things in different games. I think a better example would probably be like, I don't know, like Skyrim for me. Like the Elder Scrolls you better
not say Fallout. No,
or Fallout.
So Fallout. So in Fallout, you can skip all it.
Here's the difference, I think, of how, and I know we're just talking about the DLC is coming up, not the full game review. For that, you want to listen to, I think that was our first episode of Button Smash.
Yeah, it was.
You want to go back to that one. But what they do is they give you these like key moves and abilities that you like really kind of need at the end there. It makes life a lot easier, but you can beat it without it, right? Whereas in Bethesda games, it's like, oh, get this weapon. It's cool. It's probably not as good as what you have now, but it's still cool. And that's about it. There's no real like, for me, joy in a lot of the stories of those missions because the character models are not great. They're so robotic, you can't really get invested. Whereas with Ghost of Tsushima, everyone is a lot more lifelike, and you get this sense of personality from everyone instead of just like, hello, I am Jane. I lost my friend over in that radio tower. Please go see.
It's not that bad.
It's not that bad.
Game also kind of like chalks it up a little bit too, right? Where there's like somebody dying, like just convulsing and coughing in the background, and you're just like, oh, I can't listen to this person talk right now because that person's dying in front of me. I'll just accept the mission, whatever to help this guy.
Well, like that one mission of the guy who's pretending to be a samurai and he's not a samurai, and he's living it up in a village.
That's
and
my favorite. Yeah,
and like one of the villagers, like, yeah, we know he's not a real one, but he's been helping us out. I mean, he's been keeping away the Mongols or whatever,
They're like, he's hasn't really done anything to us. I hope he didn't kill him.
Like he's a scoundrel.
Yeah,
so
I love
good.
it.
I love it. There's so much personality in side missions, but yeah, I'm really looking forward to this.
Yeah.
Yeah, and something I'm looking forward to that is kind of exploded into the gaming sphere. I mean, this thing literally came out of nowhere. I hadn't heard of this thing, and I think it dropped yesterday. So the game we're talking about is called Black Myth Wukong. Wukong! Yeah, Wukong is for the kids. Get it? The joke is Wu-Tang.
Wukong, Wukong, Wukong. Stupid.
For those listening, Wukong, Black Myth, is a new third-person single-player action RPG created by a Chinese indie developer called Game Science Studio. And by indie, I'm talking about a staff of like 40 people, and they're looking to hire more. So it's based on the ancient Chinese legend of Journey to the West, which is about the Monkey King, Son Goku, and his journey into the western regions of Asia. So you got, your Dragon Ball story, the Son of Goku, that game Enslaved Journey to the West. That was a couple of years ago. And little is known about this game as it just kind of came into the zeitgeist of gaming, but of the gaming spirit. But we did get some info from Daniel Ahmed, who's a senior analyst at Nico Partners, and what they do is they cover the video games industry in Asia. So Daniel reports that the game will focus on the Monkey King and his special abilities. There are 72 abilities that can be used in combat, some of which are demonstrated in the video that dropped. And this studio, Game Science, has created a few mobile games and PC games in the past, but this is going to be their greatest challenge. They've never done something like this. And it's using the latest Unreal Engine 4 technology, and it looks insane. So during development, the developers played games like God of War, Monster Hunter World, and Sekiro to learn from each
Oh
title.
yeah.
Yeah. And as you're watching the game demo for wherever you are, you can kind of see that it looks gorgeous. This game is absolutely beautiful.
It looks too gorgeous.
It looks too good.
It looks
I don't
like
trust this.
It looks like if
Suspiciously good
Naughty
looking.
Dog made Ghosts of Tsushima, but then also
Yeah.
had like a more mystical feel to it. But it's like, oh my god, oh, it's
Yeah.
pretty.
I don't trust that it's actual gameplay. That's how good it looks. Like it's beautiful. The game looks like they got a pretty good level done. The combat looks a lot of fun, very Soulsy, but not quite, a little faster, which is I think where the Sekiro kind of comes in.
Yep.
But like, I don't trust this.
Now,
know
they
why.
did put a disclaimer in the video that this is a work in progress, but they are saying, they're claiming, okay, and we all take this with a grain of salt. Every gamer knows when you watch an E3, you watch a Gamescom, take it for a grain of salt, right? Like, look at the Tony Stark flying game with the suits. That was all, it was all a lie. But yeah, so Wukong, they're like, yo, this is the latest Unreal Engine. This is a small indie team, and the boss battles looks very Souls-like.
Yeah.
Very, very Souls-like. So you're playing as the Monkey King here. You have some boss battles in the trailer, and I gotta say, like some of the particle effects, like
Awesome.
like from the boss battles where you're fighting this fire boss.
That does look great. Yeah.
It looks really, really good.
Yeah.
And I'm not really inclined to play Souls games. They just never really appealed to me. But I love fantasy, and this looks really fantastical.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and as you go along in the demo, it looks like after you defeat each boss, like the Monkey King kind of takes on their abilities. So you defeat this fire-wielding double staff boss, you take it for yourself, and now you can use his power against the bosses that are coming up.
Mega Man.
I'm
Yeah.
also getting
Right.
some Dynasty Warriors vibes with the.
Oh yeah,
group of
there's
people.
definitely some Dynasty Warriors moments in the latter part of the trailer where you're fighting just like hordes and hordes of enemies. The characters look really interesting. Some of them look a bit like Mimiya Haizaki, like there's an older man who's telling you a story, probably about the path you have to take. And oh man, like you guys listening have to look up the Wukong trailer just to get the full aspect of it all. I
It's
mean,
gorgeous.
the character running through the environment looks great. Looks like an upgraded Uncharted almost.
Yeah.
If I can paint a little picture for you there. The character models themselves, the animations look very fluid. I mean, this demo could very well be just a cinematic, but they're claiming it's all in game engine. So
I don't think it's a cinematic. I think it's in game, but I think they're running like double 2080 Ti's to really date this episode right now. Because that's the pinnacle of technology. When
right, like they're putting
this.
their best foot forward with like the greatest technology they can, just to kind of be like, oh, here's like the concept of the game and what it could achieve. And
Just
like,
don't step off the path. Oh my god, if they step off that path, it's all going to fall
right, if they go a
apart.
little bit to the right, like, oh no, they'll see like some unrendered stuff.
You hit the rock. You're not supposed to hit the rock.
Yeah, but
Never the rock.
like this game just like it just came into fruition, and everyone who's been looking at it is just like, holy crap, I need to play this game. And there's no date on it yet, but everyone's saying next gen, obviously, so PC.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. So what do you guys think? Just looking at the game, and now Casey, you're a Souls-like player.
Yeah. Oh, big time. I'm thrilled at this. I mean, like Greg said, very suspicious that a tiny team could make something that's this polished. But I mean, I'm watching. I'm watching.
Oh, I should also say that this is this demo they released is 3 years plus work.
It makes sense. Also, I guess the quality isn't super suspicious because if you look at Hellblade, that was by Ninja Theory, and they're I would say small to medium size indie dev, right? Like they did the DMC reboot. I would assume they got a lot of their money from Disney Infinity 2 and 3 because they did a lot of work for that. And if you ever play those games, specifically the Star Wars stuff, you can feel the DMC in Disney Infinity. But like, so they hoarded their money. They made Hellblade is what I assumed happened, and Hellblade is great. And they come out with a sequel. This one is very similar quality, even has like a same like kind of like feel as Hellblade, very realistic, very visual, very visceral, right?
Also on Unreal Engine as well.
Oh yeah, and that too. Yeah, there you go.
I mean, I was even going to compare it to something like what is it, Mortal Shell?
Yeah,
which is another indie game.
Souls-like.
That's something like 15 people, and it looks way less polished.
That was 15
than this.
people?
I think I read that somewhere that it was only.
That's incredible.
It's a team of 15.
That's crazy.
I mean, but that game also looks very bare bones. It's like you kind of
Yeah.
just go from fight to fight, and that's it. This has a lot of scenery, a lot of substance. I mean, right now I'm looking at the the big wolf boss.
The furry battle, yeah.
Dude, the fur on this big Balverine wolf monster, insane. And the lighting effects coming off of it. I mean, like Unreal Engine
terrifying.
4, like we really boast that like there's a lot of like real time rendering for things. So like developers can put in certain like realistic light sources, and so the light will bounce off the furs, and there's all this like a mix of technology that come through, so to give you kind of like a true to what would happen in like a real environment. Let's say this big wolf creature was real, and it was in this like temple place with like a high sun. Here's how it would be reflected. Here's how the sun would come off of its individual furs. And oh my god, just the way like this character is wielding its staff. I mean, again, for those listening, you gotta look up this trailer for Black Myth Wukong. I mean, it's insane. The way that the fur lights on fire, the character animations too are so good. They're so fun. Like I want to play this game now. Like I need them to put out a demo or so, just so I can like feel it like myself, like dodging the moves, like performing the big bombastic plays, getting that big burst damage.
You know what's another big draw for me is that nobody has heard anything about this game, and they just drop it with 13 minutes.
Yeah.
That's like unheard of. You'd think maybe 2-minute trailer, small announcement. Like remember when Metroid Prime 4 got announced? It was like 10 seconds and then just a big 4 shows up, and Nintendo's like, yeah, we're working on it. This game is like a developer has been working on this for 3.5 years. Here is half of a television show's worth of entertainment for you.
Right now, everything that they had on their hard drive.
This is what game companies should do when they're working on a game. I don't want like the number 4 slowly fading in, or like fire, the glint in the fire in Mario, and then Pikachu's eyes, then all of a sudden Smash Brothers go. No, I don't want any of that. Not to like harp on Nintendo because everyone does this, but like
people love that reveal.
I want to be blissfully unaware that a game is being made, and then all of a sudden I get like 15 to 20 minutes of just like gameplay, no one talking over it, no nothing. It's just like, this is what we have, and you were just knocked away. Like it's beautiful.
Well, that's what you get when you have a completely new IP with a small developer, though. They have the time. There's no expectation to do so. If you get a bigger developer with an existing IP, like they got to get the hype out, and they don't have that luxury because they're going to have the publisher breathing down their necks.
To that, I mean, I agree with that. Yeah, but to that, I would say I think it would be easier for the larger developers who have existing IP with the revenue coming in to kind of remain silent a little bit more, versus the smaller guys who are just like hurting for money, scrounging for pennies, eating ramen for dinner, lunch, and breakfast. Like that's just their life. And I say it in that order because they have dinner at breakfast time, because they're probably just working all night.
These grown men eating like college students.
Yeah, because they don't have any revenue coming in unless they got an angel investor or whatever. So I would think it'd be the other way around. I acknowledge you have to like let people know, we're working on Mass Effect Andromeda, it's going to be great, and then it's not, but they say it is, and then you're waiting for years and years and years. I just want it this way. I don't want to be aware. I'm always tempted, if we weren't doing this show, I would just unplug from video game news just so I could be surprised whenever something shows up a month before.
Man, I am doing the show and I'm unplugged from video game news.
You're the worst. But I agree with Cake Eating Dragon in the live chat. As cool as cinematic trailers are, I always want to see what gameplay looks like. Yes, that's something we've been talking about for some time now.
That's
and we're like, I really like with Greg, what you said with like developers releasing gameplay trailers, and like they talk over it and walk you through it. It's like might as well be a PowerPoint presentation at that point. Let the gameplay speak for itself, and that's what they're really doing here. There is like some kind of like narrative going on, but it's in some form of the Chinese dialect, so we don't really know what they're saying. But they're letting the gameplay kind of speak for itself, and I think these
Smart.
big companies can really, really learn from that. I mean, what was that other game from the game showcase where it was like a medieval game, and they showed us a big cinematic trailer, and at the end they showed us like a little snippet of what could be.
You're not talking about the
something.
Oh, Godfall? That one?
Godfall? Is that what you're talking about?
No, it wasn't
that was
Godfall. Yeah, it was more of like a medieval game, and they showed us a big cinematic trailer, and then the end.
Was it like the team versus team? Is that what the one you're talking about? Where
I think so,
like, what is this game even? And they didn't show us anything?
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It was like Spy versus Spy, but
it was the Robin
Hood
Hoodie looking game.
Yes.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. But that game, a cinematic trailer works if you're able to kind of tease what the story is, or if there is just some really cool concept that you're trying to, like some big picture concept that you're trying to show. Unless you, and that's very rare that you have something that is that out there that will work. But in the end, again, a game with a great story but bad gameplay it's no good. Just watch it and just make a movie.
Yeah.
My only concern now is that, like, if they drop this 13-minute trailer of gameplay, right, and they just saw so many different versions of boss battles, like we saw the first two, it seems like, you think they gave away too much? Like,
it depends how long the game is. That's the other thing I'm wondering, is a game can look this beautiful with a smaller team if it's not that long.
Yeah, I think this game is 10 hours, 13 hours, you know what I mean?
10 to 12. I hope it's like the 20 to 30 range, which would be, I would say, about average if you're, I don't know, good at Dark Souls, unlike myself.
If it's a smaller game of this quality, though, I think that Hellblade is probably a pretty good like benchmark for what we're seeing here with a smaller team. I mean, you're probably looking at maybe 12, 14 hours.
Yeah, I hope it's longer though.
I mean, obviously, but in keeping up this quality for something, this is the first time they're out the gate. With such a small team, I would be surprised if it breaks 20 hours.
You also have to look at it too. It is very linear. It has that same almost Godfall type structure that we're talking about a couple episodes back.
But a couple of these, first of all, the way that your enemies jump around the environment is much more interesting, and we do see a couple of shots of you engaging with like what looked like probably like 15 to 18 enemies.
I'm not talking about. I'm talking about level structure specifically.
Oh, gotcha.
It's just all hallways.
I see. I guess. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I'm on board.
Yeah, and Jay, like I get what you mean. Like they're showing us 13 minutes of these different encounters. Now, are we going to see more variety of encounters? Is that what you're saying, or it's like, okay, here's the kind of encounters you can kind of, you know, like look forward to. Like here's this one type of boss battle, here's another type of boss battle, and then rinse repeat a little bit. They do have some interesting monsters, so to speak. So I think maybe that will circumvent it. So we see like a big wolf-looking thing. Well, one monster that's really impressed me in this trailer was like this big, disgusting insect-looking creature.
Yeah. Cool.
Like this like big like roly-poly looking thing. I'm like, oh wow, that thing's nicely rendered and it looks like really high quality and it looks really disgusting. Thanks, I hate it.
It's gross.
Yeah, it's really gross. Like it like rolls up in the ball and then it like explodes out into like all these legs and like I'm like, oh god, I hate. Oh.
Yeah.
All the little my skin crawls. I'm like, that's how you know it's good. Skin starts crawling. Yeah.
Speaking of things that make my skin crawl, I'm just kidding. This doesn't, but I have no other segue. Minecraft is getting Jurassic World DLC.
Yeah. It's actually already dropped. It's available.
Whoa. Minecraft got Jurassic World DLC ?
It sure did.
So random, like the most random pairing of things.
Yeah.
Also, surprised it hasn't happened sooner.
For the most part, yeah.
Ooh, helicopters.
So, what kind of cracks me up about this is that do you guys remember the game Ark?
Oh yeah,
Survival Evolved.
Yeah.
That really just felt like a more realistic version of Minecraft, but like plus obviously like almost a gotta catch 'em all type of deal because there's different like monsters like in like or like dinosaurs and animals that you can tame, and you still build your fortress and mine for resources, which is again it's basically Minecraft, but Minecraft is really missing that like the big monster feel to it. And this really feels like now it basically is just a like Lego version of Ark. Which is interesting. So those folks that are still all about Minecraft, you got some a whole different way to play the game.
Dinosaurs.
And this is a DLC. It is, I believe, $8.
Okay.
Not bad.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on. We had, I think that was this week, the Nintendo Indie World Showcase, where they really kind of showed us that we have a whole bunch of games that were not on the Switch that are coming to the Switch.
And probably not looking as good as they do on other platforms.
Yeah.
Looking at you, Subnautica.
So the first one that they have is Hades, right? And I don't know if any of you have gotten to play this on PC, but I have it and I really like it. It's a lot of fun. It's isometric, roguelike. I don't know. I don't have any other adjectives. Essentially, you play as the son of Hades who's trying to escape hell. And basically, you get to a point when you die, you go all the way back to the beginning, and you just try to do it again. You have different weapons that you can get.
Dead Cells?
Yes, but it's isometric. It's like Diablo meets Dead Cells is a decent way of putting it. It's got a great sense of humor to it. It is from the same guys. Supergiant. So like
Transistor and
Transistor. Thank you.
what was the other big one?
Bastion.
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 Yeah. So it has a great sense of humor to it. The voice acting is actually pretty good, even though it doesn't need it at all. The graphics were amazing on PC. I like the cartoony art style. And they have like little fun things. Like the training dummy is an actual member of the underworld who's kind of like you've known your whole life, and you just like kill him and he comes back in and he goes, all right, what else do you got? And you can try out weapons and things like that. There's a whole bunch of weapons. You have bow and arrow, swords, axes, like the whole deal. I'm curious how it's going to run on a Switch, because I did get Bloodstained on the Switch, and it's not great. It's not a great experience versus what I see on PC, which is a smoother frame rate, which is what you really need in these games that have a specific art style but aren't graphics intensive. What do you guys think?
Yeah, so I wonder if the gameplay trailer, which the aesthetics look really, really cool, and the gameplay looks like a lot of fun. I wonder if this is just like the PC build, like, oh, here's just for advertising, promotion purposes, because it doesn't look this great or run that great. I do like the concept of the game, though. Like, it sounds like something I'd like to play. You know, especially like having a Switch, like it being mobile and just being anywhere and playing a game like this, I think is pretty cool. Like whether you're on a train or you're just hanging out somewhere. Like I think I'm like traveling, it's not a thing anymore. But yeah, well, whatever.
Remember going places?
Remember that? But yeah, the aesthetics look pretty neat.
Yeah, I mean, I think I ran the same thing that Greg was talking about. I kind of ran into the same thing with Ori and the Blind Forest. Phenomenal game, don't get me wrong, but seeing what it looks like on the Switch versus what it looks like on like a full console or PC is like it's night and day about the amount of detail that you can see and the amount of depth and really leaning into it definitely has that more 3D feel. But that being said, it's a trade-off that you get. It's a less powerful console, but that console can go with you anywhere. It's kind of the love-hate of the Switch. Less power, but oh my god, it can just come with you in your pocket.
And following up to Hades, they showed a small little game called A Short Hike. Who wants to tell me about that?
So this one was actually initially one of the timed exclusives for Apple Arcade, and it was probably one of the higher rated games that was on there. Small little game. You just walk around this little island world as this little bird person. It's exploring. It looks pretty good. I mean, it kind of looks like a mobile game. Like this is a game, smaller scale. It's meant to be played on a smaller platform. But actually, I think it's a good example of a lot of these Apple Arcade games that are timed exclusives, because there was a couple of them. We're only talking about a few of the games they announced on the Nintendo Indie World Showcase, but this is one of at least 2, maybe 3 games that were on there that are now going to be on different platforms. And this is another one, now that it's on Switch, is also going to be a timed exclusive, which means it will be available on other platforms later, but with their whatever deals, it's only available on iOS through Apple Arcade and now on Switch.
And also going to be now on Switch, Subnautica and Subnautica Below Zero.
Really?
You're just skipping over Garden Story? Like it's just some kind of...
Yep.
Well, I'm sorry, Casey, if it was in the show notes, if someone bothered to open it up beforehand and put that in.
What?
And put that in, maybe we wouldn't be skipping over it.
No, I just want to give it 2 seconds because it's very clearly working on Stardew Valley, not Animal Crossing, Stardew Valley.
Oh, gotcha.
Which itself was there's no new Stardew Valley, and Stardew Valley was made in a world where there's no more Harvest Moon games. So this is kind of like a copy of a copy. But it looks cute as hell. I'll give it that. Like they definitely achieved a cuteness aesthetic, but I'm not ready for another farming simulator.
Didn't they just steal the maps from Super Mario Brothers?
That's what it looks like.
You mean Super Mario World?
Yes.
No, of course not. Absolutely not. You possibly think such a thing.
Okay.
As you were, Greg.
Okay.
Wow.
Subnautica Below Zero coming to Switch. What do you think? I think I didn't know what Casey thinks already.
I never played it.
Well, I think I know what you think about the potential graphical quality that could come out of it.
Well,
on the
yeah, I
Switch.
mean, yeah, but it's a game that's, listen, I may not have played it, but I definitely understand that the whole point of the game is the spectacle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, to put that on a not very graphic intensive system, it's kind of like, but why though?
¿Por qué?
Yeah, I mean, I also said that about them putting The Witcher on Switch, so it's like,
The
But
Witcher?
I also heard that's not great either. Like
Yeah.
there's this trend of like, can we put it on the Switch? And they're so busy asking if they can put it on the Switch.
I mean, yeah,
They're not
They
asking
are
folks if they
if they
should.
Greg, we already talked about Jurassic Park earlier with
blend
Minecraft.
it?
That was perfect.
fine.
That's the second
That was
time I've
perfect.
quoted Jurassic Park, that specific line, on a podcast this week. So
Listen, you're not wrong though. Like what's the main draw of Nintendo? First and foremost, their first party titles.
Mario Twins. Oh.
Right. Super Mario.
Super Mario. It's a me, Mario. Like I say all the time.
Super Mario Twins and the Legend of the Zeldaman. But after that, they've really got the market cornered on sort of nostalgic gaming.
Yeah.
Because, the whole Shovel Knight revolution of classic Super Nintendo Genesis era style platform games like, Shovel Knight or In the Blind Forest. It's, that's their niche when it comes to indie development, at least, or that's what it should be. So to see a scaled 3D game, like, I don't know, Subnautica is the kind of game, and if you've ever watched anybody play it, like I have, because I never actually played it, it's a game where you kind of want to put yourself in an environment, like those people who play horror games in the dark.
yeah.
It's like that. You get your mood lighting done. All the music in the game is very cool and quaint. Like, are you going to get that when you're riding the Long Island Railroad into the city? Like what's happening here? Like, if you're not playing it on the go, or there's not some like edge to playing it while you're traveling, like Chris said, what's the point?
I think Nintendo has kind of gotten themselves a little stuck with the Switch. And I think especially with why you got a Nintendo in the first place, we live in a time where games come so quickly in and out of our culture that Nintendo can't really keep up with the first party titles.
But
Yeah.
Not really. Like, if you think about like when, and this might just be like when we were kids, there's a different day and age, right? You had your Mario games and those just lasted you for a while. Then you had your Sonic games and those just lasted. And maybe you got your Vector Man and you got your Donkey Kong Country, right? Like you got, or like even you got like your Lion King or your Aladdin, right? Those are kind of like your third party titles, but those just lasted you.
games that were so fucking hard, you played them for years.
God, the Lion King game was so hard. Damn it.
That's just the thing though, is there's so many games out there now on so many different platforms and they're so accessible. Like even this thing, like this was a Star Trek thing.
Hey, what's
not
that
too
thing
long
you got?
ago.
Yeah, was that thing for all the audio?
My phone. Oh, look at my puppies. The phone. Yeah. For everyone listening at home, like you look at your phone and that even has games that have, I would say, close to, if not better than, what the Switch can provide for gaming in terms of graphical quality.
Yeah.
So now they're kind of like, geez, we can put out a Mario game, like a legit Mario World, every couple of years or whatever, and that's about it. And all they have is Mario, Zelda, and Donkey Kong, which is like the main. And then you go into Metroid, and then you kind of go the further you get out of that, like, pop culture bubble into like the real big gamers who played as a kid. But yeah, they're just like, yeah, just put it on there, we want it all. Oh, we're family, doesn't matter. Witcher 3.
You know what did
boobs
that?
Everywhere.
You know what did that? The Wii.
Yes.
Because the Wii was, so many people bought it because, it's cool and gimmicky and you could play with your whole family. And there's a reason it's the best-selling Nintendo console of all time, except for maybe the Game Boy, but maybe it beat the Game Boy.
Well, I mean, that's the gimmick too. They've Nintendo, they'll sell well if they have a gimmick, and that's what it was. Moving on though, because we got a lot of stuff to talk about still.
Yeah.
Raji,
an ancient epic.
Yes, tell me.
An ancient epic?
Tell me about the ancient epic.
This game is probably actually the coolest thing that it was on this indie world. It is a story set in ancient India based off of Indian mythology, where you I guess it's an isometric, well, partially isometric, but also partially 2D side scroller, where you play as a woman who is being, I guess, or followed by demons or challenged by demons. But you kind of run through this ancient India where you're going through all the different gods and getting different power-ups and fighting through it. It looks like it kind of looks a little Diablo 3-y as far as like the aesthetic to it. But it's much more of a bit more action-y. I don't even know if that's the right word. Or arcadey. It's a bit more arcade style gameplay. Maybe even a little bit of Prince of Egypt with some wall running.
A Prince of Persia?
I said Prince of Egypt, didn't I? Wow, way different. Prince of Persia.
That was a
Well,
movie.
now,
That was a
now we
different
know
movie.
which timeline Chris is from.
Remember that really great video game about Moses?
Dude, the part we had to part the Red Sea. Oh man, that was amazing.
No,
Oh, you guys
or
lost
better
the
yet,
I had
I had like mash and mash and mash, and it was like, come on, part it.
You have to actually take both sticks and put them in opposite directions very slowly. If you go too fast, you're gonna start over again. Anyways, this game looks really cool. I think it's really awesome that they actually make a game based off of Indian mythology.
Yeah.
Where you interact with Hindu gods. That's cool. It's it's God of War with Hindu culture, but in
Nice.
a more isometric.
Which is
way.
actually what I want for the next God of War. Either like the gods of Egypt or like the Indian gods. I mean,
100%.
it's insane for Kratos to go up against any like Ra, the sun god, or the Indian god of the elephant. I think it's Ganesh. With all like the arms and all the weapons and stuff like that. He'd be like, what the?
No.
What's going on here?
Aztec gods. Imagine that.
You got to fight Quetzalcoatl or whatever.
Yeah.
Too bad.
Oh,
More
man, we're
Norse
getting
Gods,
into it.
Part 2.
All right. So everyone's favorite Goose Game is also getting some DLC.
Yeah.
Now, I never played this game because I watched it all on stream in one sitting, and I was like, "Oh, that was it." But it looks amazing, looks great. There's co-op DLC, so I don't know too much about this. I've been kind of keeping my head in the sand, so to speak, for a very purposeful reason. Chris, why don't you tell me a little bit about it?
Untitled Goose Game is a super fun short game. You can probably get through it. I want to say in like 5 hours.
Yeah.
It's a rudeness simulator.
It's a rudeness simulator. Basically, people actually compare it to Hitman, where you have almost like a sandbox. You walk into an area and you have different things that you have to accomplish, but there's different ways that you can accomplish them. So basically, instead of killing people, you're just pissing off the neighborhood, which is hysterical.
You're grabbing its apples off of somebody's lunch and throwing it in the river.
But as charming as it is to play one player, this new update is going to allow you to play it with a friend. So 2 geese walking around, which must open up a whole new world of possibilities. Because
Their walking animation is just amazing.
It's so funny.
This game, you can walk, you can honk, and you can like raise your wings out, and that's like the only controls that you have. But part of the charm of the game is you have to set off like basically a chain of events to distract the people, the members of the town, so that you can go wreak havoc in your mischief before they chase you out of there. But I'm super excited to kind of play through this again with a friend, because it was a really fun game.
Look at this. Now there's 2 of them.
But
so
would
good.
recommend.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, the aesthetic looks so interesting.
Yeah, it's
man.
a really funny looking game. I kind of like looking forward. I might actually pick it up and then get into trouble with some people. We'll see.
Yeah.
Dude, get
Let me know if you get it.
Wait,
I'll
shall
get it.
play with you,
player
man.
2 Goose.
Yeah.
All right.
Speaking of interesting things, coming up this weekend, we got the DC Fandom, which isn't also going to be about just the movies that are coming up. We got video games as well. And in an interview with Twitch, industry veteran and all-around great guy, Jeff Keighley, was talking to some of the hosts over at Twitch in their weekly gaming kind of update, and he was talking about how the DC Fandom has 2 games that are coming up. He can't say any more than that. He probably already knows what they are. He's probably seen them. He's probably touched them. He's probably licked
You
them.
didn't
Probably
need
this together.
to say it, Jeff, because one of those developers is putting up cryptic messages on their social media. Which
which one's that?
A lot of people have been led to believe that they are developing a new Batman game based on the Court of Owls storyline.
Interesting.
Yeah. What's the other game?
That's the only one I know about.
Okay.
That's the only one with cryptic messages, man.
Now the other one that was talked about was the new Rocksteady game, which is going to be Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League. And the art they put up is you got big old big boss Superman with a crosshair on his head that says Suicide Squad. So coming up soon, we're going to be hopefully seeing some gameplay. I hope it's not just cinematics. We were told there's going to be a big reveal for that game that we know about, which is the Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League, and the other game which we think is a Batman game, But do you guys want a Suicide Squad versus the Justice League kind of game? I mean,
I don't want a Suicide Squad game right now. I'm not saying I'm not opposed to it though. Like I think we talked about this on the show before, where I would just really like this game to be a better version of the game Evolve, where you have like a 5v1 essentially. So like one person will be Superman, and then the team is the Suicide Squad, who will be significantly less powerful than Superman. They just have to figure out how to take them down in Metropolis or whatever. And if they really want to go the extra mile, maybe like allow you to take hostages and stuff. So the more hostages you kill, the more like that hurts Superman in some effect. So he has to like stop you from hurting other people.
Are you suggesting that they make it like Superman Returns the video
Superman
game?
Returns. Superman Returns, the video game, had the most intelligent way to give Superman, an immortal / invincible superhero, a health bar. And that's by giving his city, Metropolis, a health bar. If Metropolis gets destroyed too much, Superman is defeated mentally and cannot do anything again.
And maybe has to move to Gotham.
Actually,
Actually, that'd be
sister city right across the harbor.
That would be pretty awesome if you start the game up and you don't know which superhero that you're up against.
That'd
you
be
have to
really
figure
cool.
out which one it is and change your tactic on how to take them down based off of who the hero was. That would be dope.
I'm also hoping for a really robust roster for the Suicide Squad, not just like Harley Quinn and Deadshot, but like get the Villains United people in there, right? Like get Catman in there, get Ragdoll in there. Everyone has a very specific role, and even if they're close to
Greg's just like a very specific role for a very specific, just the Gail Simone lineup of Secret Six.
But like if the more C to D list villains that you have in there, the more fans are gonna want that. Yeah. I think that's been obvious with all the Lego games. Like you throw in like random henchmen, you throw in Killer Moth.
Dude, they got like Airwave and like
I know.
other. Oh, it's in the Lego Batman 3. Before they did Lego Marvel Superheroes 2, was like they truly scraped the bottom of the barrel for any character they could possibly put into a video game.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
They know what they're doing.
But that's what the fans want. They want to have those I can't believe they put him in here moments. And I hope we get that with Suicide Squad. I doubt we will.
I doubt it. Like, I think they're going to play it safe. Like, you know, Harley Quinn's going to be like the lead and everything because she tests well. This is this new age of DC. They're going to be like, oh, great, we're coming off of the Harley Quinn movie and everybody loves
But also at the same time, it is Rocksteady, and they did put Hush as even a mention in, I think it was Arkham Asylum. They threw him in there. They mentioned Tommy Elliott in an Easter egg somewhere. Yeah. So they know. I think I trust Rocksteady by.
You also confront Hush in Arkham City, don't you?
I don't remember. It's been a very long time since I've played that.
Yeah. Now I also trust Rocksteady because I like their games, but this is like a new era of DC that I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what's going on. So I kind of have no faith. You know what I mean?
This is the only thing I'm gonna be hopeful about with games coming up, and like it's gonna let me down. I know it's gonna be famous last words, but I feel like they know enough to know what their lineup is, and they've had enough success with the Arkham IP to like really get some sort of like leeway, get some sort of footing. Because the only Arkham game they didn't make was Origins, and while still was a great game,
it was still good.
It's not a Rocksteady game, and the fact that we can still say that, says something.
Man, Arkham Origins had one of the single best sequences I've ever seen in a video game. You know, not to throw shade on it not being Rocksteady, but the whole walking down, seeing the origin of the Joker as Red Hood.
Oh yeah,
that
was really cool. Yeah. Well, also you have the best, the Arkham Knight, in my opinion, one of the best scenes where you see what happened to Jason Todd
That was
through
amazing.
flashbacks. That was crazy too. So like I think they'll get some sort of footing. I don't know what that means for the game. I'm hoping for the best.
Yeah. Now, one thing that came up with the announcement of this game were the comments about a Suicide Squad versus a Justice League game, and something people are saying is, why not instead have a Justice League game instead of playing as a Suicide Squad going after the League? Why not be the League and have
because this is a test run,
like an event?
Because A, this is a test run to make sure that they can actually make that work in gameplay, or B, it's going to be what I really hope for, what I've been talking about this whole time, which is Evolve, where that you are playing as a Justice League in this game. You just don't know it yet. I'm hoping for that. I doubt it. I'm pretty sure it's going to be pretty straightforward, but you never know.
Yeah.
You never know.
Yeah. Another thing we don't know. Well, we do know. Gamescom, one of the biggest gaming showcases, is coming out next week. So stay tuned for that. It's gonna be interesting. So with Gamescom, since you can't go there live like any convention, they're gonna be doing it digitally. It's gonna start on Thursday and go out through the entire weekend. They're going to be, apparently, Jeff Keighley was saying in his interview with Twitch, some big game reveals. It's going to be a full digital weekend. There's going to be new trailers dropping, some new gameplay dropping. Of what games, he didn't say. He probably already knows, but in his interview with Twitch, he couldn't really say. But he said new trailers, new gameplay for games that are going to be coming out next year. So hopefully we'll see something worth talking about. So stay tuned for that Gamescom news.
Mm-hmm. And because the first ad break was just so popular and everyone loved it, I got tweets and everything all about it. We're just going to go ahead and take another just quick little ad break where we're just going to poke fun at Casey the entire time. But you enjoy this messaging right now. And that was the funniest joke Casey ever told in his life. And you all missed it.
Yep.
Oh,
I'm going to be honest.
Bad.
It'll never happen again.
It wasn't really that funny.
That's even better. All right. So now that we've almost pretty much run out of time, we're going to go through these next couple segments pretty quickly. I want to know what everyone's been playing this week, starting with Chris.
I actually last weekend was able to download the Marvel's Avengers demo. It was free last weekend, and spoilers, it's actually free this weekend as well. I downloaded it on PS4 and I played a good chunk of it, probably like maybe an hour or two of it. I got to tell you, not impressed.
Ooh,
gonna be honest. It feels the way it plays and feels and at times looks like a PS3 game. Gonna be honest.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah. It's the controls just aren't like super tight. Like the physics, and it seems like it's very linear, like the point where you walk a little too close to the edge, where in some games you just fall right off, and it just goes, nope, we're just gonna keep going. We're just gonna keep going forward, not a problem. Like playing as the Hulk, you get knocked what should be off a ledge, but you hit an invisible wall and you just continue crawling. So the game starts off. You first start off as Thor. You brawl with some people. You can throw your axe, or not the axe. Well, I'm sorry, not God of War, but what have you? You throw your hammer. You use your lightning powers. It's fine. It's not particularly challenging. Then they have you play as Iron Man, where you fly.
Of course, it's not challenging because no threat is too great for the God of Thunder.
All right.
I
wanted a little more. I wanted a little more threat, though. Like I wanted it to be a little bit more difficult.
An Avengers level threat.
All they had to do was copy God of War.
That's it.
Thor.
Yeah,
that's all they had to do.
And what's funny is that when the game was first announced, they kind of boasted that they did.
Yeah.
Supposedly they have a dev from God of War, and specifically to work on Thor.
I mean, it feels very similar. It feels like the Bizarro version of God of War. Like it doesn't feel quite as good to pull the hammer back, but it's all right. Then Iron Man, you fly around. It's a little like flight simulator-y for a while, and then of course you hit the point of the game where you're done flying, so they just put you into yet another mini arena where you fight guys for like 12 seconds, and then you move on to the next section where it's another mini arena where you just fight guys for another few seconds.
Not a good look.
Yeah. But when I played it at New York Comic Con, like, and I was watching the beta because I didn't have time to play. I was like, oh, this is kind of like what I played. You get to play as each one of the Avengers, and it was just your run-of-the-mill, ordinary game. I mean, there's nothing very spectacular about it. There are people who are like hyped about it. Like, there were some streamers who, I don't know if they're being paid, if it was like a sponsor thing. It didn't say sponsor the title. Who were just like, I can't wait, this kid's music on my cow. But I don't want to yuck on somebody's young, but I mean, it's average. It's your average, just beat 'em up game. Just like Chris said, you get into an arena, you beat 'em up, you go into a cinematic. There's something else that happens, switch to a different character. They have different skill trees, so they offer you extensive gameplay.
Yeah,
it's a very hard sell.
I think the game suffers by trying to do that. Like each character definitely plays very differently from each other. I give them that. It's not very tight. No matter what you do, you like hit something. So it's not very difficult. They also talk about, they talked about in the advertising that it's like very similar to Destiny. And besides like the gear system, I don't really know what they're talking about.
Well, supposedly they're going to have like Destiny like strikes and raids that you can engage in. So you can play co-op, and they're going to put you into these different like scenarios, which is what they're promising. Actually, a lot of fun playing Widow out of anybody else because she's not a super, and I felt like I had to try more in order to defeat my enemy.
It was a decent boss battle. And later, is it Kamala Khan? Is that her name?
Yeah.
I actually, of everyone, I think I probably enjoyed playing as her the best. It feels a bit more appropriately arcadey. This week, if you want to try it out this weekend as well, I believe the 21st to the 23rd, you can download it on Xbox, PlayStation, or PC to play that demo for yourself. And in their defense, there actually is it's a pretty substantial demo. I didn't get through the whole thing. I lost interest, but download it, play it for a little bit. Make your own judgments for it. I mean, it's how I felt about the game. By all means, you do your own thing.
That's so brutal.
Yeah,
it feels like at the end of the current gen. It feels like a last gen game.
Like it really does too. When I was playing New York Comic Con, like the demo wasn't even done yet, and I kind of I wanted to go eat, so like I put the controller down and took my headset off, and I told my buddy, I was like, "Hey, I'll meet you over there." And the attendant came over, was like, "Hey, so what did you think?" I was just like, "Oh, I'm hungry. I'm just gonna go get some food." and she was just like, "What? That's not what I asked you." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm gonna get some. Here you go. You can restart it. There you go."
That's it.
That.
Yeah,
Dude, she was so confused. She's like, okay."
I paused it. I ran out, put my PlayStation on sleep mode, went out, ran an errand, came back, and I turned my PlayStation on, forgetting that this is the last thing I played. And I just like let out a sigh when it came back up. I was like,
I do wish it was better. I really do wish it was better. I mean, they have some elements there, but it's normal. It's so normal.
And the voice acting is weird because it definitely sounds like people doing imitations of the MCU versions of them.
Yeah.
So not great. Except for Kamala Khan. Kamala Khan, because she's not in the other ones, was doing her own thing. Props to that voice actor for not needing to imitate someone else.
Oh, yeah. It looks like they're all like knockoffs of the actual Avengers. It's
correct.
Like the Incredible Hulk and like Iron Guy and like Captain America. And you're like, what? Who are these guys?
The bargain bin heroes.
Yeah. The Norsemen.
All right, Casey, I know what you've been playing because you were streaming it over at Twitch.tv,
and it was moderately successful.
Where did you stream it?
I streamed it on the We Are Rogue Matter Twitch channel.
What's the URL for that? I'll just walk you through this. Don't worry about it.
Twitch.tv/We Are Rogue Matter.
Perfect. There we go. Nailed it.
Good job, Casey.
First try.
You get a treat.
Thank you. You can catch me there sometimes playing Rogue Legacy 2. Actually, it's probably going to be the one and only time I'm playing it because there's not too much more to what's out. It's currently in a sort of pre-release, early access state, but have any of you guys played the first Rogue Legacy?
I played it for a little bit, yeah.
Let me tell you, that is a hell of a game, and it is funny as heck.
Mm-hmm.
And the sequel is a step up in pretty much every way you can imagine. It feels better just to move around and scoot and jump and dash and swing a sword and slap people around.
Mhm.
Feels good when your character has IBS or glaucoma or any number of horrible genetic traits that the game sticks you with.
Really?
Is that a real
Well,
thing?
why don't
Oh,
you
yeah.
tell? So I played the first Rogue Legacy, but there are probably people out there
For
listening
those
who
of
haven't.
you
Very
who have
quickly.
for those of you very quickly who have not played Rogue Legacy, it is an action adventure, procedurally generated RPG. It's pretty much every game sort of rolled into one.
Mhm.
But the premise is you play as a knight, and when you die, you get to continue your legacy with multiple different children who all have different stats, different, classic RPG classes, mage, barbarian, your typical sword fighter. In the last game, you could be like half dragon or a spell sword. Like there were other ones, a ton of variety. But you would also get these quirky genetic traits, which can either help or hinder your game. So you can get one that's like nostalgic, and it's the entire game is in black and white or sepia tone. Or in Rogue Legacy 2, I got one that looks like it's being played on an original Game Boy,
Oh,
That's cool.
which is very difficult, I should point out. But there's other ones like osteogenesis imperfecta, which is brittle bone disease, and you die in one hit.
what?
Yeah, IBS
Do you get like
gives you
Punnett
farty
squares to
jumps.
fill out before you like figure
No,
out
it's
your,
completely
your
random.
DNA?
That's
It
awesome.
is- it is absolutely 100% completely random, and it is so great. It's also hard as heck. I don't know if you guys like a little challenge in your games, but let me tell you, tough. It's real tough, and I am not very good at it.
Speaking of tough, we're going to move right along to Jason.
I'm not tough. I just look at.
No, I was telling Casey tough. He's done talking.
Well,
Tough
then I'm
luck.
Tommy Tough Nuts.
So I gave up my long career of IKEA Family Simulator 2020.
What?
Yeah. I'm done playing. I beat it.
Neat.
So I actually moved back. So I moved recently. Wow, that was loud. Yeah, moved recently. Had to build a bunch of furniture, so I haven't been able to play games in a while. However, I got back into playing Rust again. Back on that horse, and I've been playing in between breaks and stuff like that, which I probably shouldn't be doing. But it's been fun. I also picked up a game yesterday. I haven't gotten into it too much though, but it's called Dreamscaper. It's an isometric, like kind of. I feel like it's the theme today, but everything kind of is spanning off of Diablo 3. But it has that same gameplay feel to it. The premise is that you go to sleep and you wake up in a level and you have to fight your way out of it. You have to do puzzles to get out of it.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, it's actually really cool looking. I did find it weird. Like I love the color and like the animation style that they use, the character design, but the characters don't have faces when you're asleep. So I don't know if that's just like the thing, like because you can't really discern who's who. Everybody's kind of faceless in a dream in a weird kind of way. But I'm fascinated by it, and I can't wait to really dive in and play it. And it looks like a lot of fun, and it's got different styles of levels, right? It's not just like all fantasy driven. It's like you're in like a city, you're in like a place in like the Northwest where it's like a snow-capped backwoods of like like rural Seattle
So
and stuff
Twilight
like that.
style.
Vermont.
Yeah.
Vermont.
Yeah. But then you're also in like a Tokyo kind of setting as well. So it's got like a bunch of different, dreamscapes, if you will.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, Serge.
Great. Yeah, so we've been getting some dubs up in Call of Duty Warzone as the latest season has been chugging along. It's been a lot of fun playing with your buddies, hopping into the Warzone, getting those sweet fat dubs. That's right, those wins that you crave so much. So the thing about Warzone is that you drop it on a map, right? Like any battle royale. So it's you, bunch of teams, drop on a map. There is something that's closing in on you in this game. Since it's Call of Duty, it's a bit more realistic than Fortnite, which is like this weird purple cloud. Here it's gas, like militarized gas. So all the players are moving in towards a certain part of the map. You have to destroy and take down the other players and then become the top dog. Now it gets harder and harder because the teams that survive are only good players. So as you get down to the very few teams that are at the end, you have to face off against guys who destroyed other teams. And it's just a huge, amazing, big, beautiful game that I love playing with my friends. Also, have been playing Rogue Company.
I played that
Ooh.
a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's pretty cool. It's this third person shooter. You have all these different characters. I'm still trying to figure out who I like, who's who. But so far so good. Might stream that at some point. But I really like how it runs. I like the third person shooting aspect. I like all the different equipment that you have with each character. And I'm down to learn the meta and maybe stream it sometime.
I'm just gonna tell you this: Scorch all the way for me.
Yeah,
she's the best.
I've been seeing some people pick up some dubs with Scorch. I'm like,
oh man, so good. Yeah, she's OP. She pops her special, and all of a sudden everyone's dead. I was fortunate enough to be a part of the indie spotlight over at the Geek Generation at twitch.tv/the Geek Generation, where I played a game called Liberated, which was actually really cool. It was a side-scrolling noir-esque, kind of almost like Shadow Complex, but not as in depth. And instead of having cutscenes, they had motion comics, which was really cool. Fitting with all of like the aesthetic, it was very like gritty noir Sin City-esque. It had very cheesy, very mediocre voice acting, which worked perfectly. Like this voice acting technique never happened, but like I was almost expecting like and then I came in and I saw that the wind was blowing your eyes ever so gently, like that kind of like aesthetic, right?
Yeah.
It's very cool. It's a near apocalyptic state of the world, very 1984, very V for Vendetta-esque, where you are playing part of the Liberated, who are a resistance movement against big corporate whatever trying to take over the world, essentially. Since it has that comic book aesthetic, kind of like Comics Zone, that old Sega game, which everyone really likes, where you can actually see the panels.
Nobody appreciated it in its time, but everybody loves it now.
Yeah. But it had that same kind of aesthetic where, like, when you were in a panel, you actually saw the rest of the page. Each chapter was split up into different comic issues. So what I had played had 4 issues. The first one was a completely different character from the rest of them. You play as one of the Liberated in the first one, and the second and third one you play as, we called him Commissioner Gordon because he was pretty much Commissioner Gordon for all intents and purposes. He was a grizzled old like detective or cop or whatever, and he had the same Jim Gordon mustache, the whole deal. No glasses though, but a very similar vibe. I loved it. It was great. We beat it. It was fairly short. It was 5 or 6 hours. We beat it in technically one stream. I divvied it up into 2 because for the first 2 hours I'm over on Geek Generation's channel, and then we finished it over on mine. It was great. It's kind of steep in my opinion at a $20 price point, but if you can catch it on a Steam sale, I highly recommend it. It was a lot of fun, and there are 2 DLC issues which I have not gotten to play yet, and I would love to at some point.
Does it anyone else getting Cannibalt vibes? You guys remember that that mobile game where you're running along the rooftops as like a dude in a suit? But I know it's like HD. It almost looks like an HD version of Cannibalt that actually has a story, and the world isn't just ending around you.
It's not just a flash game anymore.
So maybe just the fact that it's a dude in a suit that sometimes runs and jumps, and it's a side scroller.
Yeah. It was a good story. I recommend it. And to finish off the night, we're just going to go really quickly tell you what is free this week. And this is the week of what week is? I don't even know. What is time now? This is August 20th that we're recording this particular episode. If you head over to your Epic launcher, you will notice that the free games have just reset, and you can get Enter the Gungeon and God's Trigger both for free. And like Chris said earlier, the Avengers beta will go up for free on PS4, Xbox, and PC. For this weekend. So that's the 21st to the 23rd. If you're listening to this on a podcast, you missed it. I'm sorry. But tune in next week and we'll tell you what free games you could get then.
Yeah.
And with that, that's all the time that we have for this week. We actually went a little bit over, but that's fine because we are great at talking about video games. We are not so great at time management. And I think everyone expects that at this point. Remember, if you are joining us late, you can always find the VOD over at twitch.tv/weareroguematter or YouTube, or you can listen to the full episode in a much better audio quality after the weekend. So usually Monday or Tuesday. with that. And I think that's everything. I don't think we're missing anything on that, are we? Nope. All right. We're moving right along. Everyone, we appreciate you hanging out with us here live, and we'll